Good evening, and welcome again to Public Perspective. I'm your host, Kevin McDermott. And tonight we'll be returning to one of our favorite issues, the issue of education. Our guest tonight is the incoming superintendent at Proviso High School District 209, Dr. Jesse Rodriguez. Dr. Rodriguez, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Mr. McDermott. It is a pleasure to be here.
So let's start with some of the basics. Proviso is a township in the western suburbs of Chicago, 10 communities, 3 schools, and in the spirit of full disclosure, I am a sitting member of the Board of Education of that district. Right. So we're going to have a lot to talk about after this show and throughout the coming years that you're here. But tonight, let's talk a little bit about just the ideas of schools that are underperforming and how those kinds of challenges can be addressed. So you just got here. In fact, you're not starting until July 1st.
Yes.
Right? So given the little bit of experience you have, what do you see right now as the largest challenges facing the school district?
The largest challenges facing the school district right now, I feel, center around coming together as a team and a group of administrators, teachers, safety, maintenance staff, all stakeholders coming together to ensure that we provide the best services and enhance education for all students. So it is first who, then what. I believe that getting the team together first, learning the values of the community, learning the infrastructure that we have, the human infrastructure, it is key in us coming together as one team.
So the team that works directly for you is, of course, the principals, chief financial officer, some of the other HR director, some of the other key spots. So how do you create a team there that then can filter down throughout the school all the way down to the teacher level?
Yes, we do have an assisting team of administrators that will work directly with me on behalf of the Board of Education, almost 5,000 students in Proviso, in which they will serve as support for the schools. It will be very, very important that we connect with the teachers, that we connect with our principals, and that team that directly works with me will see themselves and they will function with leadership behaviors where we are service to the schools.
So what kind of leadership behaviors do you want to foster? What constitutes leadership in your mind?
Yeah, leadership behaviors where we are inspecting what we are expecting, where we have benchmarks and matrix to ensure that our students are being successful, to ensure that we are collaborating, that we're building capacity, and that we're holding everyone accountable for the success of our students, including ourselves.
So what is this accountability? We hear a lot about, the for-profit schools and the charter schools, and they're all talking about accountability, and there's a million different definitions of what that means. So in your eye, what is accountability, particularly the people who report directly to you? What is that accountability, and how do you hold them accountable? Yes,
well, we do have community values, and we do have a charge from the Board of Education and a responsibility to our students, in which all administrators working directly with me and all administrators and teachers and staff members within the district have job responsibilities that we must ensure excellence in the work that we do, and that starts with me. I mean, I have to model those leadership behaviors where we are producing excellent work on behalf of the students, on behalf of the community. So this piece of accountability will be key, but with it, we must have support. So it is a combination of support and accountability. So I will need to work closely and learn the community, learn the staff, and come, do an environmental scan of their strengths and weaknesses, and ensure that we develop a growth mindset model where we are working together as a team, making sure that we enhance academic outcomes.
So you just mentioned a phrase called growth mindset, and I know I've heard that a lot. So
yep.
What is that, and how is that going to work?
Yeah, that is looking at possibilities, looking at what we have, as opposed to looking at the things that we don't have. So there are many opportunities. Our students are talented, and they bring with them talents that we must utilize in our schools, as opposed to look at those challenges as problems. We look at those challenges as opportunities. So it's shifting the mindset of where we don't have any problems. What we have are opportunities for success.
So give me an example of where something that might be seen as a problem. So I can think of one, again, because I'm on the school board.
Yes.
The physical infrastructure of the schools is very old, and the oldest school is more than 100 years old. So there's great challenges with aging infrastructure, even things like bringing in adequate electrical power. So how does that become an opportunity rather than just a problem to be overcome?
Yes, we do have very, very big buildings in Proviso, and we do have opportunities to increase enrollment so that we can maximize our potential fiscally and ensure that with the support of the community, we're able to bring those improvements into our buildings. So it is first providing great services educationally, and then communicating those services to the community, and also asking the community and our tax base for support in enhancing those facilities, if that is a direction that the Board of Education would like for us to pursue. And that is something that I'm very, very interested in, addressing the market share and looking at possibilities and ways in which we can improve our facilities. But it would take some time, and it would take disciplined work by disciplined people, making sure that we find the resources and we're fiscally responsible. As right now, we do have a lot of space. We are over capacity. So there's excess capacity in our district, and we have to address that by making sure that we increase our market share and also make the best use of our buildings.
Now, it's interesting that you talk in terms of market share. We don't usually think of that in terms of education, at least in the for-profit world, maybe they do. But, but as public school guardians, the idea of market share seems kind of counterintuitive. So how do you think about that, and what makes you bring that particular concept to bear?
Yes, this particular concept comes from the business. It's a business model in which I have combined business and education in making sure that we provide services that are resource-oriented and that where we have a return for the investment that we're making in education.
So, but market share would imply that we're getting more students in, right, than we have today.
Yes.
So how do you go about doing that?
We were one strategy would be to talk to our neighboring communities and about what we offer. We offer excellent services. We have an IB school. We have
You'll have to explain IB. I know what IB is.
Yes,
International Baccalaureate, right?
Yeah, we have an international baccalaureate school. We have schools with an emphasis in engineering in Proviso. We have multiple programs, and we have great things happening in our schools. But I don't know if the public and if the communities understand the great things that we're able to provide.
So, for example, dual credit with local community colleges, Triton in particular, right?
Yes.
So that's something that, and you talk about engineering, we have an engineering collaboration where kids can get this kind of dual credit, and then they're leg up on college, right?
Exactly, and we have opportunities for credits by implementing a rigorous international baccalaureate program. So, we do have a great infrastructure, and we do have many possibilities and opportunities for students, but it's communicating that to the community and making sure that they know that we are a great option for education in the Proviso Township.
Now, as I'm sure you know, as is true in many areas where the schools are struggling, and Proviso is certainly one of them, the perception is that although some of these programs may exist, the International Baccalaureate, the AP courses, et cetera, that the overall performance of the schools is low, and we know particularly Proviso East and West, the test scores traditionally have not been very good, and with the switch to the newly mandated PARC tests,
Yes.
They look even worse. So how do you convince parents that despite that these other opportunities are worth their sending their kids to these schools, despite the low scores?
Yes, we do have opportunities to reframe and restructure East and West. Currently, we have a principal at Proviso East who is re-envisioning East and has come to me and to the current superintendent with great ideas about reframing, re-envisioning Proviso East. The same opportunities we will see at West. So coming in as a superintendent, I am looking for ways to improve our schools. We do recognize and we do understand that our students are coming to us with skills that might be below grade level, mm-hmm. 1 or 2, or whatever the case may be. But we recognize their talents, and we're going to ensure that we have personalized learning in which we are addressing the needs of all students in making sure that they grow academically.
So in the instance of personalized learning, we have teachers who, and we know that teachers always would like to see smaller class sizes. And we do have class sizes that can be 20, 25, sometimes more students. So how do you get this personalized learning in the context of class sizes of 20 or 25 kids?
Yeah, ways to get the personalized learning in is by having programs within the school in which we address students. So these programs are what we call a standalone lab, a personalized blended learning lab, for example, where we are addressing self-efficacy, credit recovery, proficiency, and also enrichment. So these are opportunities for our students outside of the classroom with certified staff in making sure that we address their academic and also their enrichment needs.
So if it's outside of the classroom, you know how difficult it is to get kids to do anything outside of the classroom, right? So if we're asking them to take extra classes or tutoring or however it might be structured, how do we motivate those students to actually step up and do that on what would otherwise be their free time?
Yes, it can be done by making sure that they obtain credit for the courses that they're taking, as we will have certified staff. But a very important component is this component of self-efficacy.
And describe that. So what happens there?
Yeah, so what happens there is that when our students come to us in these personalized learning labs, we will spend a lot of time building their self-esteem, making sure that they know that they can do this work, that they believe in themselves. As the public system, in the prior years in K-8, has not. I believe, in my opinion, we haven't done a good job in building our students and bringing them or sending them to high school, being quote unquote high school ready.
And by that, from what you just said, I'm taking it to mean that part of that is that we have not instilled in them the belief that they can do it.
Exactly.
Right. So how do you get over that? Especially if someone's, by the time the kids come to Proviso, they're already 14 years old. So they may have had 8 years of someone telling them, well, you're not very smart, or, you can't really do this, or, don't push yourself too hard because you're not really, college material. And we know that does happen, and kids do get that kind of feedback. So as someone who's 14, who's heard that for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, how do you get past that? How do you convince them of something different?
Yeah, we we do that with certified staff that believe and that are certified in doing this type of work, where.
And are those the guidance counselors, or is that teachers, or is that another position? Who actually does that?
Yeah, it's a combination of support staff, guidance counselors, psychologists, teachers, so that our students believe in themselves, because there are academic and social factors that are affecting, the outcomes in education. So our students are coming to us, and there are many factors, academically and socially, that they bring into our schools. And in the middle, what we have is this piece of perseverance, and we need to ensure that they persevere.
Grit is what we call it these
Grit
days,
here?
right? Grit.
Yep.
Yeah, it's perseverance, but people like grit now. But anyway, go on.
Exactly. So
Let's go on.
And and understanding, these challenges, we ensure that our staff, they work with our students in building grit.
So I like the formulation that there are these two sides. There's the academic side, but there's the social side as well, and that the perseverance in the middle, or grit, either way you look at it, is kind of the glue that holds those two together. The social side is always the one that gets struggled with most. The academic side, the schools they're experts in that. They're teachers, they're administrators who've made their careers here. The social side is a little harder. It's harder to reach out to the family if the family has problems, if the child is living with someone other than family. So there's social pressures, now with social media, there's all sorts of things going on. So how do we address that social side now? And how do you combine that back, fold that back into the academic side to get that whole moving forward?
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked that, because that is something that is often forgotten in education. So we do have an obligation with our township, with our villages, in making sure that we invest in education, because this is a partnership in the best interest of the community, in the best interest of the township, so that we can grow leaders that will serve our communities. Our parents, oftentimes are facing many, many challenges. Many times, in my experience, they were part of the educational system, and many of them, fail in that, within the system. So, so working with our families so that they can understand and know that we have excellent services and that we're going to work together with them in making sure that their children are successful is one big, strategy that we must do. So, I do like this concept of having parent coordinators, for example, working with our parents, bringing parents into school, bringing grandmas, volunteers, so that our students know that we do have safety nets, for them, that we have a plan in creating pathways for them to be successful.
Now, you come from the Milwaukee school system, where you were regional superintendent and had, 30 schools that you had a hand in? So you've seen some of these transformations before, right?
Yes.
So talk about one or two of those. How did you make things happen, and how did you implement this kind of model elsewhere, and what happened when you did?
Yeah, these kind of models we have implemented in schools, high schools especially, and middle schools, by working together with the staff. Our teachers are very, very, very important. They're key. And also our support staff. So we must work together with our staff. It is first who, then what. Research from Good to Great in Jim Collins' book talks about the fact that we must bring the team together first, and then identify what is that we need to do. But having a team of educators committed to the education and improve outcomes of our students is extremely, extremely important. So, I can't do this alone, and the board cannot do it alone either. We do have excellent teachers in Proviso. We do have, exceptional, administrators, and we have excellent and talented students that are ready for us to do this type of work.
So if it is really about the people, and I think in my own experience and as a management consultant, yes, I've found that that's most often the case. Even where people think it's really a technology issue, it really isn't. It's a personnel issue. One of the things we see in underperforming schools, and we see a bit of this in Proviso, is what has come to be known as the tyranny of low expectations. And this is a case where people say, well, we're doing the best we can. Look what we got. Look what we have to deal with. And so how do you approach the people to change that mindset?
Yes, and I do that, and I hope that all administrators do the same, and also teachers with students, in looking into our challenges as opportunities with possibilities for success. So it starts with me, having those conversations with our teachers, supporting our teachers, being accessible, to their needs, to their recommendations. teachers teachers need a voice, and they want to have a voice. And with me, and in my experience, my teachers have a voice.
With you.
With me.
And so they can come back and give you the kind of feedback that you need to hear, right?
Yes.
So one of the things that is also true in many underperforming schools is the issue of discipline and safety. And certainly Proviso has had its problems with some fights and whether or not the schools are safe. You know, we hear this from parents, well, I'm not going to send my child there because I don't think it's a safe environment.
Yes.
How do we approach that? How do we change that? First of all, how do we change the reality in the schools, and then how do we change the perception in the community?
Yes, the reality in the schools is changed by having conversations with our students and our staff, by developing a personal development model where we stop doing what doesn't work, where we start doing what is working.
Well, give me an example of that. Like, what would be something that we see that, or even if that you've seen in Milwaukee, that doesn't work, and that you're able to stop and go change direction to something that does?
Yes, something very typical as high school students walk into the door. We have safety assistants or administrators, screaming at students, go to the hallway, move, go to class. A different approach where we're talking to students, treating students like human beings and young, responsible adults is more effective than screaming to students. Students don't appreciate that.
Sure, no one does.
No one does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is something very simple, and something very, very true, and something that we do see a lot. So that is something that we will, work on. I'm not saying that it's happening here. I have no evidence, but it's something that I have experienced in my past work as an administrator, and I have to model and talk to students. In moving them into the classes that they need to be at, so that others will do the same.
I think that I'm really intrigued by that idea that the idea that the kids, even though yes they're children and we're the adults, and so there does have to be some differentiation there, but nonetheless, that the students are responsible or can be responsible, can take responsibility for themselves. In fact, I may have mentioned this to you on a previous occasion, but I visited a number of years ago, although this was a Catholic school, it was in a very tough neighborhood. And I was surprised to see that there was very little security at the school. And the administrators told me, well, the kids watch out for themselves, and they keep a lid on things. If they see something that's not right, they get on top of it and make sure that if they can't contain it, then they bring it to the administration. And so it's a kind of self-enforcing structure in the school that creates the kind of discipline necessary for good learning and keeps the kind of disruptions to a minimum without a huge security apparatus. And I was so intrigued by that, and I thought this is a case where you give the students responsibility and you teach them that they can do this and that they can make this change themselves, rather than, as you mentioned, screaming at them to get in line. So is this consistent with what you're thinking, your model?
Yeah, it's very, very extremely consistent. Students want to do well. Teachers want to do well. They came into the profession knowing that they're going to be the best teacher they can, and that they're going to do everything for kids. But it is about us, looking at possibilities and in making sure that we believe in people.
I love that concept, believe in the people. Your teachers, your administrators, and most of all, your students. And as you bring that up, it also seems to be somewhat of an answer to the question about the tyranny of low expectations. Well, if you don't believe in the students, then you're much more likely to say, well, gee, they come in unprepared. What do you want us to do? And if you believe in them, then you believe in the potential, and you say, well, I don't care if you didn't get what you needed previously. We're going to try to help you now. Is that consistent with your experience? Have you seen that in Milwaukee?
Yep, I've seen that in Milwaukee. I have experienced that myself as a student with the teachers that believe in me, coming from another country as an English language learner, and teachers that believe in me in America.
Right.
It made a difference, and it made me who I am today. And that is what that's what drives me as an educator. That I see the possibilities in all of our students with our great teachers in Proviso.
I think that's such a compelling personal story, something that you yourself have experienced.
Yep.
You know, a friend of mine who happens to be a teacher at Providence St. Mel, he's a math teacher, and he teaches AP Calculus, and he has never had a student fail the AP test.
Wow.
And the student body, the demographic there is very similar to what we see at Proviso. And there's same problems of, families and dysfunctional families and problems with the kids. And I asked him how he managed to do this so consistently. And he said, because I care about each student individually. I care deeply about each student as an individual. And that's what allowed him to be able to reach them. And he actually ended up winning the WGN television has a Teacher of the Month award, and he won one month. And one of his students said that this particular teacher said, he wouldn't let me fail. I was going to give up, and he wouldn't let it happen. And it reminds me of the story you're telling about yourself, that people stepped up and grabbed you and said, no, we're going to help you succeed.
Yeah, exactly. And that is and the same model we want to do with our administrators. And we have to do with our teachers, so that our teachers can do that type of work with our students.
Sure. And when we talk about professional development, so it's not just a matter of bringing in someone to say, oh, here's how you can teach better. It sounds like it's much more.
It's much more, and our teachers are so talented. We just got to talk to them and listen from them. What is it that they recommend? We do have the answers. The answers are in Proviso. We don't need to hire, a whole bunch of consultants to do this work. We do have the answers. We have talented staff, and we have, and we do have many students that are talented and ready for us to implement and to put together our best thinking around accelerating their achievement.
So when you start, which is just in a short while, what are some of maybe the top 2 or top 3 priorities? When you first walk in the door, what are the top things that you're going to focus on right away?
The top things to focus will be having conversations, interviews, one-on-one with the staff, with parents, with teachers, with internal, external groups. Getting to know the area, getting to know the people, spending time understanding the needs of the community, sharing my values and understanding the values of the community. So it is time to learn first and embrace, and make Proviso, my district. That's important. Coming in and making this, my home, my district, my life, so that I have the commitment from the students, our board, our teachers, in the work that we are about to do.
I can't think of a better way to sum up our interview. And look at this, we're out of time
you.
already. What a great way to finish up.
Yeah.
Dr. Rodriguez, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you tonight, and I look forward to working with you in the future.
No, thank you very much, and it's been a distinct honor, to be on your show, and also to work with you in the future.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you for joining us once again on Public Perspective. I'm your host, Kevin McDermott. You can find us every Saturday night on Comcast Channel 19 at 8 o'clock, and you can see us on the web at publicperspective.tv. So till next time, thank you and good night.